welcome to another episode of PodcastDX, the show that brings you interviews with people just like you whose lives were forever changed by a medical diagnosis. Ron is not with us today. He had to duck out a little bit early. We wish him well, and we're going to hold down the fort for him.
And you're Lita.
Oh, I'm Lita.
Okay. And I'm Jean Marie.
Collectively, we're the hosts of PodcastDX. We get it together eventually. On today's show, we are speaking with Dan Dry Dock Shockley. I love that name. Dan is he's 29 years old with 40-something years experience and living with hereditary colon cancer. Dan is also a retired Navy. He's retired Navy. He worked in Operation Desert Storm, Enduring Freedom, Iraqi Freedom, and he's a veteran with 10 years working on this colon cancer surviving. So thank you for joining the show, Dan.
Well, thank you. I'm honored for the opportunity of being a guest on your podcast.
Well,
we appreciate you taking the time to join us, and I think it's important to learn about these conditions, and so that people, so that if someone in your family has this, you'll know a little bit more and actually hear from somebody that has experience living with it.
Right. And like you were saying, getting the word out for something that's a fairly rare disease is important. Could you tell us a little bit about what hereditary colon cancer is and how it affected you?
Absolutely. Hereditary colon cancer, it's a link to a genetic mutations passed down by the individual's mother or father. Overall, about 1 in every 200 people are born with an inherited condition that increases their chances of developing colon cancer.
Oh.
And hereditary colon cancer conditions affect individuals at younger ages, often before regular colon cancer screenings at younger age.
Oh. Okay.
My diagnosis was as a result of germline sequencing DNA testing, which was to rule out a hereditary colon cancer syndrome.
Oh.
Okay. So how long ago was that for you?
That was 10 years ago this May.
Oh,
Okay.
wow. Okay.
Okay.
And Dan, I understand that you are a career military man, and I would like to thank you for your service. Could you tell us more about your time in service?
Well, thanks for remembering. It's good to be home. Yeah, I served in the Navy on active duty for 22 years.
Oh, wow.
As you mentioned earlier, I'm a Operation Desert Storm and then Operation Enduring and Iraqi Freedom veteran. During my military career, I visited 22 countries,
Wow.
enjoying the local customs, courtesies, and cultures along the way. I was assigned to 7 different types of ships,
Wow.
3 of which were deployed to the Persian Gulf in 92, 95, and 2001. And during our port visits, it was an honor being ambassador for the world's greatest Navy.
Excellent answer.
But boy, you really traveled.
Right. During that
extensively.
2001 stint, I was sitting behind a desk at U.S. Transcom monitoring the movements
Yeah.
over there.
Yeah.
Mm.
In a place that looks like NASA.
Dan, did you have to have other testing done to determine what type of colon cancer that you're living with?
And what initiated the testing?
Well, we had a gene sequencing DNA test that was initiated following my first and only colonoscopy.
Oh.
The testing was performed after 100 polyps were discovered embedded throughout my colon, rectum, and anus. My GI doctor and my certified genetic counselor suspected the polyps were caused by a germline mutation.
Okay.
Okay. So that was like a colonoscopy wake up that surprised the heck out of you.
Was that your first colonoscopy?
Yeah, it was my first and only.
Okay.
Wow.
Okay. Wow.
Is there anybody else in your family that has been diagnosed with this?
No family history.
Okay.
Okay. All right. And were your healthcare providers able to take care of all that, the polyps and everything?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Okay.
And had you heard about hereditary colon cancer before the diagnosis?
No, I was not familiar with hereditary colon cancer. And, once I was diagnosed, I initiated a personal research journey to better familiarize myself. What I was diagnosed with was attenuated FAP.
Okay.
And I was asymptomatic, and like I said earlier, no family history.
Okay.
Okay. And was the testing done at Tripler Army Medical Center? And where is that?
That's in Hawaii on the island of Oahu. The test was initiated at Triple Army Medical Center because that's where my certified genetic counselor worked.
Okay.
And the sample was sent to a molecular oncology lab in Pasadena, California,
Oh, wow.
and it took 6 weeks to get the results back. There's no lab in Hawaii that can facilitate this type of test.
Okay. And how did you get through those 6 weeks without, worrying yourself?
Well, I just I initiated my personal research to better familiarize myself. So, I was able to, in the military, I had learned to adapt, improvise, and overcome.
Sure.
So, this was not it was a surprise, but in a way, it wasn't a surprise. I was ready.
Okay. And as you said that
Military, you plan for the worst and hope for the best.
Yeah, you certainly do. You're talking to two military veterans right now. I found that there are actually several hereditary colorectal conditions, as you were saying. One is the familial adenomatous. Oh gosh, I sound like a keto.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah. Okay. Lynch syndrome, and then APC.
APCI. 137. Yeah. They just give
there
genetic.
are a number.
Yeah.
There are a number. And I'm glad that they were able to determine what your particular type was and treat it. With your research, have you decided to utilize that to help others? Have you written any books or helpful guides or blogs that we can look forward to?
Yeah, absolutely. I've discovered in my research efforts there are 9 hereditary colon cancer syndromes.
Okay.
And DNA test results revealed that I had what's called an adenomatous polyposis coli mutation. The APC is the acronym for it.
Oh, okay.
That confirmed the diagnosis of attenuated familial adenomatous polyposis. So I have the APC mutation.
Okay.
Because of my age, that confirmed I have attenuated FAP.
Okay.
The time frame for FAP is 50 to 55 years of age if APC is confirmed during the DNA testing. I know that's a mouthful, but
okay.
Yeah,
okay.
and I'm glad you said it instead of me because
Right,
I just
for sure.
mumbled through it. And you actually had it at an early age at 51. That was rather young.
Well, that's right on target
cusp?
for
Okay.
AFAP.
Okay.
50 to 55.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But the initial colonoscopy was not because of symptoms. It was just a time to do it, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I knew all through the decades, when you turn 50, schedule a colonoscopy. So when I retired from the military, I registered with a VA healthcare, and we had, I have annual examinations, and we always discuss, schedule a colonoscopy at 50. So I scheduled it.
Yeah. No, Dan, you are a rare and beautiful breed. Most men,
Yes.
don't take good care of themselves and aren't getting their annual checkups like they should. So, thank you. And you're setting an example for men everywhere to get out there and get tested because they can catch something before it develops into a more serious condition.
Absolutely.
And please pat yourself on the back for us or give yourself a big hug because that's fantastic.
Yeah. You are someone to
thank you very much. And just on a side note, then you'll really appreciate my closing notes at the end of this podcast.
Okay,
based on what you just said.
Good.
Okay.
Looking forward to that.
Yes.
I love surprises.
Uh-huh.
All right. So Dan, you said that you had 6 weeks to wait for the results. What did you do during those 6 weeks while you were waiting? They did the colonoscopy. They found out that you had hundreds of polyps, and then you had to wait.
Were you in Hawaii at the time for the 6 weeks?
It's not a bad place to wait.
No, not a bad place.
Yeah, I resided in Hawaii at the time. I was out there. I lived there before I deployed to the Middle East.
Okay.
I've been out there from the fall of '96 all the way till the summer of 2016.
Okay.
So I embraced the diagnosis from the onset. My mindset is I tend not to think about things I'm unable to control, such as medical conditions. What I can control is my positive attitude. After 6 decades on God's green earth, my positive attitude has brought me this far. Why change now?
Mm-hmm.
And I enjoy listening to music, especially from the 60s and 70s. I'm not musically inclined. I consider myself musically reclined, so I just sit back, relax, and enjoy the ride.
I love that.
I would like to see that on a
Additionally,
T-shirt.
hey, we can work on that. Additionally, my personal AFAP research, I've been a live case presentation,
Mm-hmm.
and my advocacy efforts are on international scale have been invaluable experience for the medical professionals.
Oh, again, give yourself a hug.
Oh,
and
yeah.
Amazing.
Amazing.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
Yeah, we need more people like
yes,
you
yes.
because your positive attitude is what will get more men to go out and say,
Right.
okay.
And
you know
also
what?
informing the the medical community, can learn a lot from patients, and it's wonderful that you've done that.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Dan,
Thank you.
over the years, I'm assuming that you've had some surgeries. Has there been anything that helped with pain and discomfort? We like to give tips, hints, and suggestions to other people that are going through things that might help them recover.
Yeah, absolutely. My diagnosis was asymptomatic. The only discomfort that I experienced was during my healing from my colon surgery. Now, they did what's called a total proctocolectomy, and that is to remove the entire colon, rectum, and anus, and I'm outfitted with an ileostomy.
Mm-hmm.
That was back in 2012, July of 2012. Now, I need to make a note that AFAP, that mutation will and has manifested in other organs.
Oh.
So this past a year ago in April, so April of 2021, I was um, I was accepted at Stanford University Hospital to have what's called a pancreas sparing duodenectomy resection surgery. Now, what that means is the mutation was there was a 3 centimeter adenoma we found in the beginning of my small intestine called the jejunum,
Mm-hmm.
and that was discovered by my GI doctor at Palo Alto VA Hospital during my routine surveillance. He recommended that I consider this surgery, and I had to get the referral from the VA to Stanford because there's only a handful of medical centers in the US that can perform this type of surgery.
Correct.
So I was assigned one of the nation's leading pancreatic cancer surgeons to do the surgery. Now, I didn't have pancreatic cancer. However, if that 3 centimeter adenoma would remain in my small intestine, it would have manifested to the point where it would have reached my pancreas. And we know what happens
Sure.
when you have pancreatic cancer.
Right, for sure.
So, but so as far as discomfort from the surgeries, I just enjoyed eating Jello, popsicles, and smoothies. While I recovered.
Okay.
I listened to a lot of music, and I have my personal research and advocacy efforts was a way to keep my brain busy.
Mm-hmm.
And afforded me the opportunity to keep a positive attitude. And additionally, like I mentioned earlier, my military experience equipped me to adapt, improvise, and overcome.
Mm-hmm. And Dan, can you tell us more about your work with the American Cancer Society?
Well, I started advocating for American Cancer Society when I was in Hawaii shortly after I recovered. I was involved with the Relay for Life event. I was a feature colon cancer fight back speaker in Hawaii at several Relay for Life events. I've done some. I did one in Elk Grove here in Northern California. I did 2 in the Boise area over the years, and then I did one in San Antonio a couple years back. I'm more focused on the advocacy for the hereditary colon cancer syndrome,
Okay.
as well as rare disease.
Sure.
So I'm kind of streamline my advocacy efforts, and I'm also, we'll mention this in a little bit, but I'm also collaborating with several medical medical teams in the UK.
Oh, okay.
Wow. Yeah, so you were
For-
very busy.
Maybe reaching out for research over there?
Anything that I can share, get any interest in being a live case presentation, be a guest on a
Sure,
podcast,
sure.
medical professionals, if they're interested in doing a peer-reviewed publication. I have a lot of irons in the fire, let's say.
I just have a off the
Cuff
off the
quest-
script question. It's not off the topic.
I
but
said off the cuff, but
yeah.
go ahead.
If you had not had anybody in your family line that had previously had colon cancer and you were the first one diagnosed, how can somebody else, let's say that somebody has no colon cancer in their family and they go for a colonoscopy, is that the only way they're going to find out? Because you're not going to go for a genetic test to find out. You're only going to find out through a colonoscopy, right?
I don't know if that's a question that is easily answered.
Well, there's ways to look. There's a couple ways to look at that. If the key is if you have family history. Now, if you have family history, then the best thing to do is sit down with your family, the individual who, and talk to your family members and sit down with your medical professional. And then hopefully they'll be assigned a certified genetic counselor so they can do the pedigree and see, but early detection is the key. So we're trying to focus on, in the recent years, decades, we're trying to focus on early detection, the importance of it. So that's where it's important to have a certified genetic counselor go through, do the pedigree, do the test. And, there's a panel test they can do. It all depends on, what the certified genetic counselor, finds during their evaluation with the patient and the family.
Okay.
Yeah. I hope that helps.
Yes. So, but having a conversation with your family is probably the first step.
Yeah, absolutely. And we just finished the holiday season, and that was the big movement during that time frame would be the families are getting together and to have talks, just conversations and because of the families, it's that time of the year, the families are going to be spending a lot of time together.
Right. Yeah. Did Uncle Joe, when Uncle Joe had this, did they ever find out that his? Yeah, I get it. So start that conversation.
And it's a reason why on your medical intake form, so often it's asking about familial linked things.
Right.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Well, Dan, I read a wonderful statement that you've made after spending, and this is to quote you, back to you, after spending 22 years in the Navy, I'm good at adjusting my sails. I also recall hearing that a broken crayon can still color. We are all a little broken, but I'm still coloring. Do you think that your positive outlook has helped with your recovery?
Yeah, absolutely. The part about the good at changing, there's an old saying that we're unable to change the direction of the wind, but what we can do is adjust our sails, and that's why I made the comment or the response that I'm good at adjusting after all my travels in the military.
I'm just picturing.
Yeah, positive attitude
is
key.
Right. I'm picturing Navy ships nowadays with sails, but yeah, I get it.
Well, you know what I mean.
I do.
It's close enough.
Yeah. For some reason, I just pictured sails on a destroyer. I'm like, wait, get that out of your mind.
I'm picturing Great Lakes when the kids take their boating course, and they're all in little
sailboats.
Little sailboats. Yeah, and that's what I pictured.
You obviously.
Well, yeah, I grew up in Oak Forest, so I'm familiar with the Windy City. So I guess I can tie that in too. That's actually my home of record when I joined the military was Illinois.
So you went to Great Lakes for your basic?
Oh no!
It's never that
better.
simple.
I joined. My first day in boot camp was in December 11th. I went to San Diego.
Oh, okay. All right.
I knew better. I wasn't going to be shoveling snow.
That's a good point.
I was born at night, but I wasn't born last night.
Now Great Lakes is the only basic training site for the Navy, right?
I know that. I drove by the old RTC and NTC in San Diego many years ago, and I just, oh my gosh, and my heart sunk.
Yeah.
I spent my first 9 months in the Navy in San Diego. Went through boot camp and then had 2 schools after that in San Diego.
Uh-huh.
And then I went back 6 years later for 6 more months of school. So yeah, I love San Diego.
I'm sure you do. Yep.
Great Lakes, not so much. I've only been on Great Lakes once. I think twice.
Okay.
Okay.
That was enough.
Yeah.
Okay. We go to Great Lakes.
That's our closest base. You
Yeah.
know, so if we
We
want
go
to do
there on the
commissary
regular.
shopping or whatever, that's where
Oh,
we have
yeah.
to go.
Yeah. Yeah. And I've been there for medical care as well.
Oh, okay.
Because that was the closest place to
Yeah.
Chicago.
Well, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, they built that place up. I mean, because they brought the boot camp from Orlando was also moved up there.
Right.
Mhm.
So, because when I came in, Orlando was the only place where the Navy was had the boot camp for the females. They also had the males there, and then Great Lakes, of course, has been there the longest. It's been way back in the day,
Mhm.
and then San Diego was all males as well.
Okay.
Times have changed.
Yeah.
Well, how has
Yeah,
hereditary?
they sure have.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. How has hereditary colon cancer affected your self-esteem?
Oh well, it's I've just accepted. Like I said, I've embraced this from the onset, and it's afforded me the opportunity to do the research for AFAP. And Dr. Henry T. Lynch is a founding father of hereditary cancer research. In fact, that's a photograph in the background here of Dr. Lynch and I.
And where is he from?
He was at Creighton University. He's credited with the discovery of AFAP back in the early 90s. He was doing
Okay.
research at Creighton University.
Okay.
He's the one that actually discovered Lynch syndrome. It's named after
Right.
him.
Right.
Well, AFAP is because of his research. Now, the interesting thing, my genetic counselor and colorectal surgeon at Tripler were colleagues of Dr. Lynch.
Oh.
So 7 months after my surgery, guess who shows up in Hawaii to do academic lectures
Oh.
at
nice.
86 and a half years old?
Oh, wow.
So
Wow.
that picture is Dr. Lynch and I standing outside the University of Hawaii Cancer Center,
Okay.
where I got to be personally and privately introduced to him. Now, he was in the Navy
Oh.
Oh,
back
wow.
in 1944,
Wow.
and he went to Great Lakes for
Okay.
his
Wow.
boot camp. Then he went out, and he was 16 years old. He used a relative's ID card
Oh, my gosh.
to get in. He served 2 years on active duty, and he was a gunner's mate, and he was assigned to ships in 3 different theaters. Part of the Philippine liberation, he was part of that. And he got out of the Navy, and he's 6'5", and he was boxing. His name was Hammer and Hank.
Wow.
And so anyway, I had read a little bit about him. So when I got introduced to him, we started talking sea stories.
Yeah.
And then we went in for the lecture. And after the lecture, we sat down and had lunch. And then for an hour and 50 minutes, I had the opportunity to talk to him. And I carry a binder with me when I'm in a medical setting. And I had my DNA test results, pathology report. So my genetic counselor wanted me to have him read my binder in front of the 6 different people that were there from 6 different doctors that were there from Tripler.
Mm-hmm.
So as a result, Dr. Lynch and I remained in contact over the years, and I have to go through routine endoscopic procedures.
Mm-hmm.
So I would send him the pathology reports. He would review them, and he would give his feedback and insight.
That's amazing.
And so he considered me a colleague through the years. And he passed away June 2nd of 2019. He was 91 and a half years old.
Wow.
And up until a month before he passed away, he was still going in doing his research.
Wow.
Well, if he doesn't have a memoir, I would love to have you write his biography and read it.
Oh, that would be awesome.
Yeah, you should.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So I'll just say my purpose in life now is to educate the world about AFAP, continuing the legacy of Dr. Lynch on the importance of early detection in hopes of saving lives.
Well, that's the start. That's the preface for your book.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Love it.
Well, thank you.
What support have you received during this whole journey?
Well, I reach out to numerous organizations to share my journey.
Mm-hmm.
I've been an advocate for numerous colon cancer, ostomy, rare disease, and mental health organizations nationally as well as internationally. So just to name a few organizations, in the U.S. is the United Ostomy Associations of America, the Wound Ostomy and Incontinence Nurse Society, the Colon Cancer Prevention Project, as well as the Colon Cancer Alliance, the Colon Cancer Coalition, and Fight Colorectal Cancer. Then you've got the National Organization for Rare Disorders. They have what's called Rare Disease Day,
Right.
Mm-hmm.
and that's February 20, well, the last day of February. This year it's February 28th.
Right.
The last day of February every year is listed as Rare Disease Day.
Right.
And
Okay.
just as a side note, the reason the last day of February is Rare Disease Day is because if you know about the DNA double helix,
Mm-hmm.
that was discovered by Crick and Watson on February 28th of 1953.
Oh.
And there's my DNA model behind me
Oh.
that I
Okay.
personally put together.
Oh,
Okay.
cool.
So,
Okay.
and so I'm an advocate for Rare Disease Day.
Sure.
Now in the UK, there's a Rare Revolution and Find a Cure organizations I've been collaborating with. In Canada, there's the Canada Ostomy, or the Ostomy Canada Society, and the Rare Dig organization. Now, Rare Dig is Rare Disease Interest Group, and that's out of McGill University in Montreal.
Oh, okay.
Also, I'm honored to be designated as a member of the University of Michigan Genetic Hereditary Testing Advisory Board, and their acronym is MIGHT, M-I-G-H-T, the M-I for Michigan and G-H-T for Genetic Hereditary Testing. And as well as the University of Texas Health Center in San Antonio, Texas, I'm a live case presentation for their Genetics and GI Malignancy multi-disciplinary annual conference.
Wow.
So I have a
Mover and a
question,
shaker.
Dan. Was medicine your career field in the Navy? You said no, right? But you've
No, I was in communications.
but you've truly
But,
embraced it, and I mean expanded your knowledge and made this like a whole second career.
Right.
It's amazing.
Well, absolutely. I mean, that's the thing that, when I met Dr. Lynch, first, when I knew the mutation was discovered by him and I met him, I've read his peer reviewed publications. I actually have a copy of his peer reviewed publication when he discovered AFAP. His research started in 1984 from a grant from the American Cancer Society. And 6 years later, he penned his peer reviewed publication discovering attenuated FAP. So,
Wow.
like I said, I not only embraced the DNA test results, but I embraced everything after that because having the opportunity to meet the world-renowned leader
Yeah.
for, hereditary colon cancer research. And just as a side note, back in the 60s, Dr. Lynch, when he retired, when he got out of the Navy, he didn't even have a GED. I don't even know if they knew if he even had a
Wow.
GED back then.
Well, sure, because
So
he joined
went
at
to the
16.
Yeah,
VA
he
and
went in
started
at 16.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he went to the VA after he got out. And by the way, when he got out, he was a boxer.
Mhm.
Okay?
Right. Right.
Mhm.
He married his neighborhood sweetheart, Jane. And Jane said, Henry, this boxing gig isn't going to cut it. You need to get a job. So he went to the VA. He started working on his education, and he got numerous degrees. He has a degree in genetics, a degree in philosophy, and a medical degree to be a proctologist. And he was studying, and he went to school. There was University of Texas. He went in. There was a location in I want to say Galveston, and then in Austin. He went to the University of Denver for different parts of his degrees.
Mhm.
And he was a proctologist, and in the 60s, he had a lot of patients that were passing away of colon cancer, and he suspected that colon cancer may not just be environmental, may be hereditary.
Mhm.
So he started doing research, and his background, of course, he had a degree in genetics, so he was applying for grants to do research to identify if this was hereditary.
Mhm.
And he kept getting turned down. And, they kept telling him, Henry, you're way off. And he goes, no, I think I'm on to something. And he kept going. And then finally, in the very late 60s, early 70s, he was able to get some funds, some grants to research, revealed where he discovered Lynch syndrome. And then between 1984 and 1992, if my memory serves me, that's the research he was doing when he discovered attenuated FAP.
Wow.
Now, let me make another note. Attenuated FAP is a subvariant of FAP. FAP, I have a lot of colleagues that have FAP. They have family history. They have symptoms, and they're on a treatment regime and numerous surgeries through their life. They could be having colonoscopies even before they're a teenager.
Wow.
And they'll have them throughout their life.
Okay.
Like I said, I don't have any symptoms. We don't have any family history. So, and by the way, Dr. Lynch has suspected that it's quite possible that the mutation started with me.
Sure.
And it's going to end with me because I don't have any biological children.
Okay.
However, early detection was the key. But if it wasn't for, Dr. Lynch's perseverance with thinking that the colon cancer may also be hereditary, how many thousands of lives globally would be impacted, and their families.
Sure.
With so.
Yeah,
Well, and how common is AFAP and colon cancer in general?
Well, AFAP it's estimated. We have no statistics. So, up until Dr. Lynch passed, he estimates that the globally that it's going to impact less than 0.03% of the global population.
Okay, very rare. Okay.
Yeah, very rare.
And Dan, what do you wish people who have colon cancer knew, and what do you wish people who haven't had a colonoscopy knew? And are there any misconceptions that you've come across regarding colon cancer?
The way I look at it, it appears that there are a limited number of resources for people with all varieties of hereditary cancer. My hope is that one day my advocacy and live case presentation opportunities will add significantly to the deficit of education pertaining to these concerns. And that's actually, that statement is actually something that Dr. Lynch and I collaborated on back in 2018. I wrote an article for the Ostomy Canada Society magazine, and I sent the draft over to Dr. Lynch, and we came up with, I took it off of what he mentioned. So, it's a matter of just, it's, obviously awareness, but we need to educate the medical community. And what I'm trying to do is not just collaborate with the GI and the colorectal surgeons. I'm also want to collaborate with the certified genetic counselors, as well as the genomics departments at various universities. I mean, hit them on even high school. I was interviewed last year, high school rare disease group in southern New Jersey. They have this is awesome. Let's get the word out there. And I have a colleague up in Idaho who was inspired by while he was in high school.
Wow.
And he was doing Relay for Life events. He ended up going to Boise State, get a bachelor's in science, and now he's working on his PhD at Boise State to be a cancer researcher. And he's a year away from his PhD, all because of things he'd seen through the years. And what I want to do is I want to try to be a live case presentation for the medical students in GI residency, and that way it will open their eyes to it, but to bring more awareness, not just nationally but internationally.
Right. So
in fact, I know. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say you're training the next generation.
Well, that's the thing, because the medical professionals, I'm sitting across the table from them. They dedicated their lives to study, and medicine's a practice. And I'm a live case presentation, so I'm sharing how thankful I am And I want to not only educate the medical community, but I want to be a source of inspiration and encouragement for the masses. And that's, like I said, globally. Um, just last fall, they Find the Cure organization in the UK. They have a contest. It's an essay contest called Student Voice Prize. And what they do, if you register, which I registered the last 2 years, and they take patients with rare diseases and they pair you with a medical student, and that medical student will interview you. And this is all from the UK or Scotland.
Mm-hmm.
And so this past fall, I was paired with a medical student studying general medicine. She's from Pakistan. She's going to a university in London, and we interviewed each other on WhatsApp, I believe it was.
Right.
And she wrote the article and submitted it. And whoever wins, they get the Find the Cure organization will send them all expense paid to a major conference there over in the Europe or UK. The previous year, I was paired with a medical student in the third year of oncology, and she was from Singapore, and she was going to school at the University of Dundee in Dundee, Scotland. And I had 12 different port visits to Singapore, so that was a pretty cool conversation there.
Yeah, you
Sure.
guys could catch
But
up.
it's educating not just the medical community, but the medical students.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's amazing.
Gene and I talk about that a lot because we try to push our podcast to the medical students. We try to educate them and
Not educate them, but
educate them on
give them a patient's perspective.
Yes, on what the patient is feeling and what the
Exactly.
patient is going through. They don't get that in a textbook.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, that sounds
No.
amazing.
In fact, when I'm a live case presentation for the University of Texas Health Center in San Antonio, I did one live, and I was in the middle of this classroom with 225 GI students in their third year of residency, and they hadn't been visiting patients. They're just studying all the time.
Exactly.
So there was 2 certified genetic counselors and 3 GI doctors, and one of the GI doctors facilitated the conference, and this was a genetics and GI malignancy conference. So I was introduced to the team by the director of medicine at the VA Medical Center there in San Antonio, and I agreed. I said, absolutely, I'd be more than happy to. So I went in for a faculty meeting, and we did the conference 2 weeks later. And I'm standing in the middle of this classroom, and there's these big screens all over, projector screens all over, and all the students are at these tables with their laptops, and because they had some questions that they had, the academic things they had to do. And then they brought me as a live case presentation, and they introduced me. They didn't say anything about what I had, and they did my pedigree live in front of all the students, and they had to guess what I had.
Oh.
Well, a few of them guessed FAP.
Okay.
And I say, well, you're close. I have attenuated FAP because of my age. So then we opened it up to questions and answers. Now I do them virtually.
Okay.
They give, and by the way, the GI doctor that facilitates this conference, we were actually in the Navy together in 2000 in Hawaii.
Wow.
And get this, this will blow your socks off. He was a Navy Academy grad. Okay. He did 4 years in the academy, graduated. Then he went into the fleet for 6 years. So then he resigned his commission at 10 years, and he went to study medical. And he's a GI doctor. He's actually doing FAP research in San Antonio at the University of Texas Health Center in San Antonio.
Wow.
Okay.
So if that isn't cool, because not only do I get to meet Dr. Lynch, who's a Navy veteran, had no medical experience, goes into the medical field after gets out of Navy, then I get to meet Dr. Randy Wright. And it's funny because when I went in for the conference with the faculty, the meeting with the faculty for the conference, I read the profiles of all the medical professionals who were going to be part of this conference. So when I went in to meet the faculty in person to talk about how the conference is going to go and what my part is going to be, after we got done with the meeting, I was talking to some of the medical professionals, and Dr. Wright came up to me and says, "Dan, what did you do in the Navy?" And I told him I was in communications for 22 years. And I looked him straight in the eye and I said, "Dr. Wright, I heard that you graduated from the Navy Academy." And he looked at me and goes, "How'd you know that?" And the other GI doctor looked at me and looked at him and said, "Research." And we all started laughing.
Yeah.
So how cool it is that, to share, because but I don't have any background in medical. I'm not what I consider a very patient man, but I make a good patient.
There you go.
Yeah, an excellent patient.
Excellent patient.
Excellent patient.
Dan, what additional tips, hints, or advice do you have for someone who has been actually diagnosed with colon cancer and may have to go through the surgeries that you've had preemptively to avoid colon cancer?
Well, the first thing would be obviously retaining a positive attitude. Have discussions with your family and your medical team. I find ways to relax. I like to read, listen to music, as I mentioned, gardening, and there's other your favorite hobbies. On a personal note, I must say that between my positive attitude, my strong faith, and being able to adapt to life with a hereditary colon cancer syndrome and a permanent ostomy, that's been instrumental in my outcome.
Mm-hmm.
And additionally, I've found a way to take a positive spin on a bleak diagnosis by creating an acronym for AFAP. And that acronym, I like to say, is always forge ahead with a purpose.
Oh, that's how you sign your letters.
Yes.
Right.
Okay. That's wonderful.
That's my mantra. That's my signature.
Right.
I woke up in the middle of the night about a year and a half after my surgery, and the first two words on my mind were "forge ahead." So I quickly grabbed a notepad next to my bed and wrote down "forge ahead."
Yep.
And now I said, "Well, I'm on to something." I said, "Forge ahead." Well, forge ahead. That sounds good, but forge ahead what? Forge ahead with a purpose.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well that's good, but that's FAP.
Mm-hmm.
I have AFAP. What's that? What's the other A for?
Right.
What am I always doing? I'm always forging. There you go.
I like that.
That was that just happened to me. But it's just the way my mind works.
Well, it worked well.
Yes, it worked well.
It worked well.
Yeah, that's very inspiring. Thank you for sharing that with us. And
Well,
thank you so much for taking the time to join us today as well. How can our listeners learn more about you and colon cancer and all of your work?
Well, there's several ways. I'm on Twitter, and my handle is Dry Shockley.
Okay.
I have no idea. I guess it's because the way my profile, when I registered, they came up with Dry Shockley. But on Instagram, it's Dan Dry Dock.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm on LinkedIn, and that's Dan Dry Dock Shockley.
Okay.
Additionally, there are numerous articles and guest podcast appearances that are available online. And if you do a Google search of my name, Dan Dry Dock Shockley, there'll be a boatload of links. You can even do an advanced search.
Right.
So the organizations nationally and globally, I submit blogs or articles for them at their request, or they'll interview me and they'll write an article and they'll get released. So there's Veterans Day articles out there from a couple different organizations, rare disease, colon cancer, ostomy awareness is, like I said, there's a boatload of material out there online. Everything I do is gratis. Okay, I'm giving back. This is my life now is to give back, and be, like I said, and to continue the legacy of Dr. Lynch, because he started the hereditary cancer research. And in my entire life, up until the time he passed away, he's been devoted to hereditary cancer research. So how cool is it to be living in the most perfect time, not only to be diagnosed, because of early detection, but actually get to meet him in person and communicate with him through the years.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah, that's something to hang on to forever.
Yeah, and we look forward to that biography.
Oh my gosh, that's why I have his picture of him and I.
And that's why you're going to write that book. You're going to write a biography about him. I see it in your future. I see it in your future.
I need some help with that.
Yeah,
I need some adult supervision with that.
I was going to say,
might be able to.
Don't ask us. It took us 3 years to write anything.
We might be able to lead you in the right direction.
No, okay. All right, well, Dan, thank you again.
That's fine.
Yeah.
We wish you all the best, and we hope that you stay safe and healthy during these trying times.
Yes.
But it sounds like your positive attitude will get you through no matter what, and we appreciate it.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Dan.
Yes. And thank you.
Thank you. And I'm honored to be a guest on your podcast. And I'd like to say in closing, I'd like to add that growing up, I heard this phrase: "You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink." Well, a few decades ago, I heard there's a flip side to that quote. You can influence the horse to drink by feeding it salt along the way.
Oh,
okay.
Okay.
So that said, I hope my journey will serve as a source of salt to those who read or hear about it. So, early detection is the key. I'm living proof, and I'm always forge ahead with a purpose.
Excellent.
Fantastic.
That's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
Excellent. Thank you
and we
so
hope
much.
that men everywhere will and women will learn from your example and get their annual checkups.
Yes, for sure.
Yeah, great stuff.
Well, that's true, and you'll get the family
history.
Have the family time, and it's inspiring and encouraging from other family members. So we're all in this together,
right?
Right.
Support
and
each other.
even close friends. But I want to focus, like I said, to educate the medical community, not just nationally but internationally, because FAP and AFAP they're globally,
of course,
impacted.
Of course.
And Japan and France are so far advanced in FAP research and surgery, opportunities. So I'm still, like I said, I just continue to reach out there, and over the years, I'm hoping, in the decades to come, that my limited advocacy opportunities will greatly have an impact on the medical community when it comes, talking about hereditary cancer research.
I think you'll be surprised how much you're going to impact the world.
Yeah, and we're going to talk to our family and friends and make sure that they're getting their colonoscopies.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Well, if our listeners have any questions or comments related to today's show, they can contact us at PodcastDX@yahoo.com. We have a website, PodcastDX.com. We're on Facebook, Twitter, Pinterest, Instagram, and TikTok, all with the same name.
Oh, okay. And if you have a moment to spare, please give us a review wherever you get your podcast. And as always, please keep in mind that this podcast is not intended to be a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment, and always seek the advice of your physician or other qualified healthcare provider with any questions you may have regarding a medical condition or treatment and before undertaking a new health care regime. And never disregard professional medical advice or delay in seeking it because of something you've heard on this podcast.
Till next week.